Hey guys, welcome back to another speed build on my channel. This build was actually meant for a friend of mine for his birthday, and his birthday was actually a couple days ago. It was on the 12th of June, so I'm a bit late with the video, but I did already finish the build and get it edited by his birthday, so he was able to see the build and he really likes it. He could be saying that because he's my friend, but you know, I like the compliments anyway. This build that I'm doing is actually based off of his childhood house, so he doesn't live there anymore, but quite a few years ago, I think it was as soon as I got The Sims 4, I was really into trying to make realistic houses. So I tried making my house, I tried making a bunch of my friends' houses, and I actually started doing this before I had my recording software. So I did it all as a way to add my friends to the world and kind of play like that. I was very excited to do it, so much so that I never actually done it. I think it's about 2 years later, because I'm pretty sure I got it at the end of 2015. I did this build a long time ago, and I remember when I looked at the build, he said that the exterior is just not close, but the interior wasn't too bad. And a lot of the times when I didn't have a good idea, I just kind of did my own thing, just kind of hoping it was somewhat familiar. This time he said the exterior has gotten better. It's not exactly right, but it is better than it was when I made it 2 years ago. The bedrooms are a bit better because last time I didn't get a lot of descriptions. And also last time I'm pretty sure I based the living room off of a different time. He's told me like many stories of how the rooms would look through different amounts of time, and this time I decided to do a little bit earlier than I think I did the last time. I think later on they actually get rid of this kind of CD shelf, which you'll see a little bit later. And now that some of the time has passed, I know a few more cheats. I know move objects cheats. I know how to scale things. I know how to do a bunch more things that I didn't necessarily know how to do the first time, and I also have a few more expansion packs, so that really does help. I believe I actually cut this clip out, but at some stage there was a lot of space left over in the living room and I didn't know what to put there, so I asked for some advice and he wasn't really available to tell me what else to put in the living room. He told me a story about how they used to have a playpen that they used to put his little sister inside just to kind of keep an eye on her. So I tried to recreate that by putting a fence structure in the middle of the living room and put a few toys in. When he saw it, he exclaimed, "Why is there a baby cage in the middle of my living room?" And I tried to explain that it's supposed to be a playpen. It kind of became like a joke, so I never actually took it out of the build. So if you see it later in the screenshots or just later in general, then just know that the baby cage is meant to be a playpen. He told me a story about how they used to keep different boxes in different places of the house. So in the living room, they used to have a table behind the couch, and underneath the table, they used to have a small box of toys for the children, and they also had a box of blankets, so they wouldn't have to go up and fetch a blanket when they wanted to watch a movie or something. I used the Move Objects cheat to recreate a shelf that he described as a spiral shelf. He told me that there used to be a lot of different records and a lot of different CDs that would go on top of the shelf, so I tried to recreate it using the Move Objects cheat. Over here, we are moving on to the parents' bedroom, which was downstairs. I don't actually believe in the original house there was an ensuite bathroom, but I was trying to get the exterior to look fairly similar to the house, and for some reason there was this awkward space, which I don't really know how I created that, but there was just kind of leftover space, and I thought, okay, well, it is convenient having bathrooms everywhere, so I'm just going to put it in a simple white bathroom. When you panic, you put in white. That is what I was told constantly while doing this build. I was told that his parents had a picture of them kind of on top of their bed that was kind of resting on the bed frame, but I didn't know how to get that in The Sims, so I just put a simple flower. Later on in the screenshots, you should see the picture. I actually played a little bit in the save file and I didn't know how to create family portraits, so I got a different sim to max out the painting skill, and then I painted a bunch of family portraits, which took a lot of unnecessary time. I probably should have just took some time to figure out how to create family portraits, but it all worked out in the end. You'll see in the screenshots that this hallway is full of a bunch of family pictures, which you're not going to see in the build mode because I had to get them through live mode. A while ago, I actually took a selfie of myself in front of this wooden shelf object, and he actually commented and said, "Oh my gosh, I used to have something very similar to that in my old house." And that was really cool to kind of bond over. So while I was recreating the shelf in The Sims, I kind of looked at mine for inspiration. I do believe mine had a mirror, which his didn't. So although you did see me put a mirror there, I took it out because it's not my house I'm recreating, it's his house, and I'm not going to just add something that wasn't there. Next we go to the kitchen area, where it's actually a 3-in-1 space. You'll have the kitchen area to one side, the dining area to the opposite side, and also a washing up area kind of by the entrance when you go through the hallway. I used to hear a lot of stories about how his mother would find a bunch of objects that didn't necessarily work and they were kind of broken down and battered, and she would get it at a cheap price, or she would just get it from something that somebody was going to throw out at work or something, and his father used to fix it up and they would be able to reuse it. So one of the examples he used to talk about is this dining table, which was complete trash in his own words, and his father actually sanded it down, got new paint on it, and carved in a pattern. I believe the kitchen area also led to the pool area, but I didn't really know how to recreate this in The Sims because we don't really have a terrain tool. Instead of steps going from the kitchen to the pool area, there was actually like a mini hill or mini slope that they would use to get down. So that is something that is kind of different, but there was just no way I could figure out how to recreate that in The Sims. Next, we are moving on upstairs, where we are working on the different bathrooms. There were 2 bathrooms upstairs that he spoke of. One was slightly larger, and that was the one that was closer to his room, I believe. There were 2 rooms that you could access through the house, and 1 room that you accessed through the outside of the house. He had a choice which bedroom he wanted, and he wanted to be inside of the house because it was slightly bigger. I believe his brother decided to take the exterior room, which was previously designed to be a studio, which was kind of weirdly placed. I would imagine that they were going to, at some stage, try and connect that bedroom to the other bedrooms, but I don't know if they ever ended up doing that. In the previous bathroom that we were working on, there was actually space on the shelf where they would store extra toilet paper. Now, in The Sims 4, they have a toilet roll which comes in handy in a lot of builds to kind of add that kind of realism, but they don't have just self-standing toilet rolls, which was just kind of a pain because I needed to recreate that and I didn't know how. So I kind of mounted a bunch on the wall. So it looks really ridiculous, but that's what it's meant to be. He also described that he had towels kind of hanging off of the shelf, kind of as a store area. So I tried to use some more move objects sheet over there. And right now we are actually going to work on my friend's room. So the first time I did this, he said that I got it pretty spot on. I didn't have that object that came with cats and dogs, so I just used a bunch of ottomans. When you look at this room, you don't necessarily think that it would belong to a kid's room because he was a kid at the time, I believe, when he got a lot of the stuff. After a while, we were just like, why did you have this type of stuff in your room? And he said no, a lot of the stuff were gifts from his aunt because she was very creative and he didn't want to throw them out because she would come over so often and didn't want to hurt her. And he also said he used to keep a knife in his room. And we questioned him on this because we were deeply concerned, and he said no, his mother made sure there was a fruit bowl in every kid's room in case they got hungry, so he would use it to peel fruit, which was a big relief because he refused to tell a different one of our friends who was actually very concerned. He is a very sporty kid. He's very good at different types of sports, especially swimming. So I put a bunch of posters around, and I think some of the posters were in the wrong spot, but I'm like, how am I supposed to get that exact spot, you know? I don't see how I'm supposed to do that. In The Sims 4, they released a laundry day pack, and I actually don't own it. So to kind of make makeshift laundry baskets, I sized up dustbins and I put a bunch of clothes inside, which looks completely ridiculous. But if I had The Sims 4 laundry day stuff, those would be hampers, and I don't think it's this build. I think it's a different build. But I also try and make makeshift washing machines and dryers, which is actually hilarious. I'll tell you more about that later. But that was pretty funny. Over here, we are working on the studio bedroom, which I believe was his brother's bedroom. I'm pretty sure he said his brother liked green, but for some reason the walls were painted yellow because they just never really painted it. I didn't really understand that. But I do know his brother took up violin lessons, so I decided to put a violin in his room. And lastly, I didn't want to put too much in this room because his sister was still too little when they had this house. So she didn't really have like a double bed or anything, but they did have a bed inside of the room they were going to give to her by default. It was the leftover room, and it was also kind of a baby room, but she didn't spend a lot of the nights there. She spent most of the nights with either his parents or with him. So there is that extra room there, but I just didn't know what to put there. The first time when he was busy describing the house, he used to say that upstairs there was kind of like this hallway area and they put a lot of gym equipment over there. So the first time I did the house, I made the open space literally a gym. But this time when I was doing it over, I made it look more like a hallway, just kind of had gym equipment stacked everywhere. There's also a keyboard we are going to put in because his father was very musically gifted. And we also just put in a bunch of boxes around and everything because as far as I know, their garage was somewhat of a storage space, but they also used the upstairs hallway as a bit of a storage place. So it wasn't completely chaotic, but there were like a few boxes and everything from when they moved. Like I said earlier, his father was very handy. He would often fix things and recreate things. So we do put a woodworking table outside and under a tree, and we also put some paints just around the place. Even though their paints were stored in the garage, there just was not space to recreate the garage. And plus, I figured if any room was going to be left out, it might as well be the garage. We are going to be moving on downstairs to the yard, where we are just adding in a pool and some plants. We are also going to add in some gardening spaces, which I created using a little fence. While I had some gameplay in this house, I did realize that it was a little bit difficult planting some of the plants using those little fencing spaces, but you can easily just kind of move the plant a little bit to the side and replant it. I did notice while doing this voiceover that a lot of footage just went missing, and I really didn't expect that. So I'm just going to make some of the pictures a little bit longer so I can kind of explain what's going on. I'm so sorry, I didn't realize that until finishing this voiceover, but I will just kind of tell you what's going on. We also add in a basket hoop outside of the house because they are very athletic, and we are just finishing up the place by adding some jungle bars. I think they had a swing set, but we don't have that in The Sims 4. So instead, I decided to add in the monkey bars. That is the house from the exterior. It's not exactly spot on, but it's pretty good enough. Over there you can see the baby cage, which you can't see the footage of. It's simply just a toddler's bed and a few toys around the place. You do get the downstairs bathroom, which is probably the favorite bathroom. I have heard a lot of stories about how this was the preferred bathtub when he was younger, and just by the way it was described, it looks very beautiful. As you can kind of see, I added in that picture of the parents above the bed, like I said I would, and I'm just showing off the triple kitchen area. You might see some random Sims around. That might be his Sim family. There was a random Sim that I needed to paint portraits, so if you see her around, yeah, that's just a random Sim, don't mind her. Over here you have the hallway where I did add in a bunch of the family portraits. As you can see on both sides of the wall, it's also as you come up the stairway, you can see a bunch of photos and also some selfies that I managed to take just to kind of give it that family kind of vibe. Over there you can see the garden with some of the planted plants that are already blooming, and over here is some of the footage that I have lost. There was a outdoor deck area where they would have a little braai space. If you don't know what a braai is, it is basically the South African term for having a barbecue. There was a kids play area and a handmade dollhouse kind of outside the living space area, and there was also a wall where they would have a bunch of kids drawing. Upstairs over here you can see one of the boys' rooms in the studio that was kind of transformed into a bedroom. Over here you have my friend's room, and an interesting fact is that his favorite color was actually red when he was younger, but when he got older, he actually chose blue to be his favorite color because his sister's favorite color was blue. I thought that was just a really cute story, so I really wanted to add it in. Next, you just kind of have the hallway area where there's some gym equipment everywhere. You can see the keyboard and also the dogs playing poker picture, which I really liked. You have the lighter themed bathroom and the darker themed bathroom, which turned out really well. And you also get the baby room, which I just didn't decorate as much. And that is pretty much the build of my friend's house. I did get permission from him to let me post this. I sent it to him on his birthday, and I did say that the video probably would not be released on his birthday. So he wanted to check it out before I posted it, and he says it's all good, he's okay with it. So that is the build. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. If you have any more build ideas or challenges, leave them below in the comments and I might consider doing them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!